Can't even begin to tell you how hard it is. Not sure how much more I can take of this. Frustrated at the end of the day, and what I need is just to get away. Rescue me. Not the way things are supposed to be, but I remember in your word, Lord, you told me I have victory. Even when I pray, it seems you're still so far away. Running out of time, Lord, you have to come today. Frustrated at the end of the day, and what I need is just to get away. Rescue me.
You can still smell that old painted oil.
We just fixed from my rain. We got
Come on in, folks.
Roof last year, and we just brand new wall. This is considered a basement, so there's no coverage. So we had to put everything out of pocket last year. We still owe money from last year.
How high did the water come in here?
Last year it came in above the wood panel there. This year the water came up to the third step here. Wow. And you know, there's mold in the house because we got hit with the nor'easter last week again, and water came inside again, and the floors, as you can see, they buckled, and my insurance is not paying for them.
Insurance paying? What is the insurance paying for?
They're only giving us $29,000, sir.
To do everything?
To do everything on a $250,000 policy.
Got it.
Without our
Who's the
contract.
insurance company?
Fidelity. And, you know, what I did is I
No, she goes to the station. Another 10 checks. So you got the 41. That's still not enough money.
it's not something oral, you know, it's really not considered, you know, we're still having that hard luck. Yeah, we just, yes, that's what I keep saying. I said, we just passed that bill, so you gotta look that up again. You know, it's hard. It's really, really hard. It's hard.
Now, if you could say something to everybody right now as far as what your needs are, what would that be?
Please help Freeport. Let all of us come back home, because at this point, if we don't get the help, we will have no choice but to leave home.
I didn't hear this question, may have been asked, but the contractor say how much it was going to be to put this house back together? Was
The
that question
lowest,
asked?
yes, the lowest quote that we got was $89,000, which I have, and I've given to our insurance company. I said that was the lowest quote. Everyone else that has come in, they want something over 100,000, you know. And as you can see, I mean, yes, it looks a little bad, but they're not old appliances. They're new appliances. Our cabinets are not old. So it's not like I'm asking for, you know, a brand new home makeover. No, we're not asking for that. We're asking for the water came inside our appliances. The water came inside our cabinets. You know, they're not working anymore. We lost all our furniture again that we just replaced in August.
You were just downstairs, the walls around the entire downstairs are still
Right.
moist.
This is all I have left.
Well,
I want to give him back his
replace that,
smile.
but we want to help you replace your home and to go back to a normal life here.
That's all we want. We just want our life back.
Yep.
I just want to be able to look at my son in his eyes again and say, we are coming home. You know, we're almost there.
We're going to do what we can to be helpful.
You got us, dear. You got us.
And you did a good job. I watched you on TV. You were very good. I tell you, you're really a poster child for a number of people that are really hurting around this entire city. And,
You know, and I think why we're hurting is because you know, we're all coming together. We're all talking about this, but it's too much later.
Rescue
You know,
God, please rescue me. Rescue me. God, please rescue me. I'm sure this is not the way things are supposed to be. But I remember in your word, Lord, you told me I have victory. Even when I pray, it seems you're still so far away. Running out of time, Lord, you have to come today. Frustrated at the end of the day, and what I need is just to get away. Rescue me. God, please rescue me. Rescue me. Please. God, please rescue me. Rescue me.
The task force, it was critically important to bring the task force to Long Island, see what we're experiencing. We just witnessed a political football game in Congress, but we were all very grateful for Long Island's Congressman Peter King, who led the fight to ensure that Congress is going back this week to appropriate $9 billion, and then the following week to appropriate $51 billion in the recovery efforts. And we saw firsthand from visiting the residents in the village of Freeport. We saw how Island Park, as Village Hall, is non-existent, and their government has really been saddled by the storm. And we saw how critically important the federal funds are to New York State. One of the missions of the task force is to see what New York State can do to aid in the recovery efforts in the 2013 legislative session. It gives me a pleasure to introduce our leader of the New York State Senate, Senator Dean Skelos.
Thank you very much, and to all my fellow senators. What's significant about this task force is that for too long in Albany, everything has been about Republicans and Democrats. And this joint task force, which quite frankly was the idea of my colleague Jeff Klein, was to bring Republicans and Democrats together from impacted areas, mainly in the downstate area, although I know Senator Paolucci is here from Rockland County, to really have a legislative response as part of our constitutional responsibilities to the devastation that Sandy brought to Long Island and certainly to other parts of the state of New York. We've seen the bickering that has occurred in Washington. Republicans not talking to Democrats, Democrats not talking to Republicans. That's not going to happen in the state Senate. We have a mission, we have an obligation, we have a moral obligation to make sure that whatever we can do in Albany, whether it's legislatively, talking to insurance companies, talking to FEMA, talking to our federal representatives, we have an obligation to make sure that people's lives are restored as quickly as possible. So I want to thank all the members of the task force for their good work. We will have a report as expeditiously as possible, hopefully within the next month or so. I know we're going to be going into different areas in New York City and Staten Island that was devastated, Brooklyn areas, and Manhattan. So I'd like to now ask the co-chair of the task force, Malcolm Smith, to make some comments.
Thank you very much, Leader Skelos. Let me thank Leader Skelos and Leader Klein for not only their vision, but their leadership in putting together this task force. I believe, and I will consistently say, this is probably, and this is, the most significant task force that the Senate has put together in the history of existence. I believe that this task force is going to make a clear, defining moment as to the new direction that the state of New York, along with the localities, that will have to make decisions on how we will build. I also want to thank Senator Fischello for setting up this tour today, Mayor Kuziak and Mayor Harvick, who accompanied us, as well as my colleagues in the state Senate. What we saw today obviously tells us that there is a lot of work that has to be done. It is clear that the effort that our colleagues in the state Senate, along with our governor and even Mayor Bloomberg from New York City, will put forth is going to be very significant. We are expecting the governor's commissioners to turn their reports over to us shortly, perhaps within the next week or so. At that point, the task force will look at it and determine whether there are legislative initiatives that need to be responded to. Obviously, we know about what we heard from our Congressman Peter King and the delegation that claims that we will be voting, or they will be voting on Friday on the Sandy Recovery Bill. We do hope that that happens. Were we discouraged by the absence of the gamesmanship that was going on? Yes. I think Senator Skelos said it best. I think the model for how government should act is standing right here before you. New York State normally leads, and again, we're doing that in terms of how this coalition will be functioning. We are looking forward to doing our work quickly, doing it smartly, and making sure that the people of this state recognize that they are more important to us than the politics. This task force, I believe, will set the model for much of what will be done in the state of New York, and I really sincerely thank Leader Skelos and Leader Klein for having that leadership and the courage to put this forward. There are many people who wonder how this will work, and I believe history will record that they made one of the wisest decisions on behalf of the state. Thank you very much.
$100,000 in damage to her home, and insurance companies offered her $29,000 to rebuild. That's absurd. We won't accept that. We've been working with the Division of Financial Services with the Governor's Office, Ben Lewinsky in the state of New York, and they've done a good job, but we're going to look at that. We're going to do whatever we can to fight the insurance companies, and the report will include whatever we can do on the state level.
Mr. Skelos, obviously flood insurance is so expensive. We just wanted your reaction, sir, to FEMA's latest flood zone map changes.
I understand. I just read about it in the paper, I guess today or yesterday.
Yes.
I haven't really been able to examine the entire. Hopefully, it's striking a balance between those residents that truly are within a legitimate floodplain and others that have unnecessarily been paying flood insurance. But one of the areas that I think the task force should explore is educating people that live within floodplains how important flood insurance is.
State of New York. So Ray, you can introduce yourself, and then we'll come back to you.
Thanks, Senator. I'm Ray McGuire, I'm the Executive Director of the Freeport Fire Department. I also serve on the Board of Directors of the Vocational Education Extension Board, which is responsible for the training of the firefighters in Nassau County, both fire and EMS.
Thank you.
Andrew Hardwick, Mayor of the Village of Freeport.
Thank you. We're going to start with you, Mayor Hardwick. That mic does work. We did have the pleasure of your company today and taking a tour of the village of Freeport, where we saw the massive destruction and visited the homeowner that, like many homeowners, thousands in the village of Freeport are facing right now. So if you could give the panel, the task force, a brief overview, we appreciate your comments.
Certainly, I'd like to start off with welcoming everyone to the village of Freeport. We are honored to have you here, and certainly we want to thank you, Senator, for choosing Freeport to host this meeting. I said earlier today during the tour that Sandy has not left. She's still here. In essence, I feel like I'm the mayor of a propaganda village, because you see something that isn't really what it appears to be. And that is multiple homes that appear to be occupied, but yet they're empty. We have thousands of them. I can tell you that we have more than 3,000 homes that are in need of moderate to major rehab. We have 4.5 co-ops that are completely empty. We're talking about residents that are now living all over the country, all over the metropolitan area, some in basements, some in attics, some in others' living rooms, or sharing bedrooms with family or friends. We're still in trouble. We need Washington to do the right thing. We need our insurance companies to be brought to the table. They're still running our residents around in circles. We still need help. Last night, standing on the streets of Freeport in our southern tier, I felt like a foreigner. I felt like I was in a different country. Because after watching, as so many of us have, the acts of our Congress letting us down, we have people that don't like our country to get treated better than we have been. So today, I'm sending out a loud cry to Washington. You've got to do better by us. We're yours. And to my colleagues here today, our names will be all over this. This is our history. What will we leave our children to work with? Is my question I'll leave with all of you folks today. We are in trouble, folks. Many people need a sense of promise that we're going to do the right thing by them. That we're going to do something about elevation. It's just simply put it back the way it was is not good enough. Sandy has set the standard. Will we meet Sandy? Will we defeat Sandy? Because she's still here and she's still wreaking havoc. She's throwing lefts, she's throwing rights. Are we in the ring yet? Is my question. Do we realize we have a fight on our hands? And so today, I gotta tell you, I'm pleased to see so many of you to take this tour with us and to really understand that we are truly in this together. It's not over, and we've got a ways to go, and we've got too many people that are crying for help, and quite frankly, if we don't give them some sense of promise that we've got a handle on it, why should they stay? Why should they fight? Just a week ago, we were threatened with another tidal flood. We were in a home today, and you've seen it for yourself, Senator, along with all the other travelers with us. Water came into this home again. They haven't put it back together yet. And just, can you imagine if they had the money and they had done the right thing and everything was done? Here we are again, a couple of weeks later, boom, all over again. So we've got to handle this a different way. I end this by saying Sandy has set a new standard. Our names are on this history. How will it be, folks? How will it be? Thank you.
Legislator Ford talked about an experience with that in my area, West Islip, Avalon Village, and Windermere, where you have we have banks that are insurance companies that are sending checks. We saw today otherwise it's completely inadequate in policy. However, for those that are getting checks that are good enough, they're being written to the homeowner and to the bank, and they can't use them. They're laying out tens of thousands of dollars. And with the bank and some of the insurance companies are saying, well, you need a general contractor. Meanwhile, the homeowner says, well, I want to fix my floor, and I want to fix the bedroom, and I want to fix the kitchen. But no, you need a general contractor. Who knows a general contractor? And that you can get on 3 days with notice to get going. what's one thing the task force really needs to look at, how we can make sure that these monies are available to the homeowners so they can get going. They may know someone that can fix their floor and fix their kitchen, and they can work as a general contractor. But if we're waiting for general contractors for all these thousands of homes that need to be fixed, it's going to be a very long time before anything gets done.
Thank you, Senator. Deputy Mayor from Emeryville, Peter Caselli.
Casterly, and I do appreciate
Casterly.
Grant to the Republic, that's a little less money we're going to get to. Next.
Not necessarily you are from my Senate district.
Every single firefighter's house in his town, yet these guys and girls still stayed steadfast, stayed in the courts, and still went out and took care of their residents as they were sworn to do, which is an unbelievable thing. Mayor Hardwick, active member of the Freeport Fire Department, 80 of his members have had devastation in there, and then I have to also say Senator Boyle, who's also a member of Volunteer Fire Service too. All of these folks stepped up to the plate and did not turn back at all. You had an unprecedented situation that took place here. Senator Zeldin pointed out about the fact that the proper equipment wasn't there. I don't think that even nationally people can wrap their arms around the fact, and I'll just talk about Nassau County alone. We have 1.3 million people here. That is larger than 16 states in the nation that the volunteer firefighters in Nassau County have to protect. And because of the dense population, because of industry and everything else that goes along with it, we have all the same problems that entire states have in the county of Nassau. One of the things that, that we're very blessed with is that we have a very, very dedicated force of volunteers who are there. I will tell you that, you know, Senator Smith protects his district is the FDNY. The New York City Fire Department is the only career fire department, in the country that has proper manning. And I know that I'm not getting into a union issue. They, of course, would like more firefighters, but for the most part, you look at most career fire departments, they're driving around with 2 or 3 firefighters on an apparatus. If we had career firefighters on Long Island, the devastation would have been far more worse than it was. We were able to put out hundreds and hundreds of volunteer firefighters at the snap of a finger to go out and get into these communities and go out and be able to rescue and do what they had to do. If it was career on Long Island, we would have had a problem because 2 or 3 firefighters in a fire truck are not going to cut it. The thing that we have and the thing that we need to do, we saw it in Tropical Storm Irene. We had firefighters that responded up to upstate New York after they were hit with the devastating storm. Tropical Storm Irene came through here, and as Senator Savino mentioned, a number of the constituents were hit with damages from that storm, but nowhere near the dramatic impact that they had with Sandy. But upstate New York, they got hit a lot worse. In fact, ironically enough, there were folks that evacuated Long Island, went upstate, and wound up getting in more peril upstate than they were if they'd stayed here for Tropical Storm Irene. But what we saw in the volunteer fire service is that there was a lot of unique challenges that were put forth. I know that we have Deputy County Executive Walker here. Through him and especially County Executive Mangano, we put initiatives in place in Nassau County to start using large venues so that we could get a significant amount of training out to the firefighters. But that's where the problem is. We do need funding from the state through the Department of Homeland Security Emergency Services to push money down to the fire academies on Long Island and the fire academies in Westchester and elsewhere locally so that we're able to do this training. We don't need to pay personnel to go to these classes because any volunteer firefighter that goes is on their own time. We need to have instructors though so that we can get this important training out there. The other thing we need to do is seriously consider pre-positioning assets here. To have stuff coming down from the National Guard from up at Albany or even on the other side of the bridges is just not working. If we pre-position equipment here, even partner with the volunteer fire departments on Long Island to maintain that equipment and utilize it so that it doesn't run dormant, I think will be a very significant help. Even Senator Golden, you have volunteer fire departments in your area also who are in dire need. I think the training aspect though is the biggest thing because we're taking these firefighters and we're putting them in peril ultimately in a lot of these cases. Just simply going down the street in a flooded area, somebody might say, well, it's 3 feet of water, it's not that big a deal. But if the manhole cover is missing, that's a very, very big deal. You've got a lot of debris, you've got a lot of things that are happening, and it's not things that our firefighters face every single day. And I think that we could partner with the fire academies and try to get that training out there as much as we possibly can and as quickly as we can. And obviously, funding is the key for that. Ultimately, like I said before, I am extremely proud to serve as a volunteer firefighter in this county and on Long Island, and I know that I speak for all the firefighters. The Senate delegation from Long Island and throughout the whole state is very, very supportive, but I think we need to fine-tune it a little bit and try to get some funding into these training initiatives, because, as I mentioned before, the County Executive Mangano worked very closely with the Fire Academy in getting us the venue at the Morelli Center, where we're able to put 150 firefighters in a room to do training. So rather than paying an instructor to teach 20 firefighters, we're using didactic training, and we're able to put 150 firefighters in a room to make better use of that money. However, we need to do that more. We need to do that more with Suffolk. We need to partner more that way, and throughout the state, so that all the firefighters are trained to that same level.
Yeah, so I'm wondering if perhaps one of the things we can also request of the New York City Fire Department and the NYPD is that they incorporate some of this training and their own training, which will then benefit the volunteer companies on Long Island. Would that be something that would be helpful?
It would be, but we do work in concert with the FDNY, with a lot of our training. Our firefighters do. They have firefighters come to our academy and go to there. It's just we have to kick it up a notch to be able to make sure that we push out as much of the especially the special ops training, which is what they were faced with.
Right. And one of the things we found on the night of the storm, especially in Breezy Point, which is a volunteer fire company, there was concern about the rigs, that they could not go to a certain level of water, and they had to wait until later when some other trucks came from somewhere else. Should there be different types of rigs depending on whether you're in a coastal community or not? Like the kind of truck you need for, 110th Street in Manhattan may not be what you need in Massachusetts.
Right. Well, in a perfect world, that goes to what Senator Zeldin said before. In a perfect world, we would have as much of this equipment as we possibly can. Everybody would have it, but that's not realistic. It's just not financially possible. I think that if we look at what we actually need, and that's what I mean by partnering with, all of the fire departments on Long Island are municipalities in one respect or another. If you apply this
to get away, rescue me. Not the way things are supposed to be, but I remember in your word, Lord, you told me I have victory. Even when I pray, it seems you're still so far away. Running out of time, Lord, you have to come